Hello, everyone, and welcome to your horoscope for the week of March the 11th till 17th, 2024. We have quite an interesting week ahead of us where psychologically and also emotionally speaking, things may feel like a roller coaster ride where ups and downs, hopes and disillusion perhaps are gonna, shift one another in a very radical way. It may seem that all of us might be trapped in a, under to be understood symbolically, of course, bipolar episode where there is a lot of high, there is a lot of excitedness, anticipation for the future, and this the future in this term is actually the practical, down to earth future, the close future that all of us are working towards. At the same time, there is also the larger sense of the future where the change of times, the change of the world, the rearranging of the core energies that build up our reality basically is also going on at the same time. However, besides this, the Pisces season, especially with, we begin the week freshly after a new moon. So the moon just leaves Pisces at the very beginning of the week. So we include the moon as well. Then there is Saturn and Neptune and the sun. So a very strong emphasis on the sign of Pisces, where this week Venus also joins the Pisces planets. Uh, Venus enters into this part of the sky either on the 11th or the 12th, depending on where you are on the planet. And as she does so, she is going to be holding quite an uncomfortable semi-square with, sorry, semi-sextile with Pluto. So that is rather uncomfortable. Where Venus entering into the sign of Pisces is usually a very beautiful period because this is the part of the sky where Venus is in exaltation. She's able to bring forward her highest qualities, believing that everything she has in the highest principles. She is her most romantic, her most dreamy, her most, unbound self. So this usually brings up all these themes in our lives, both individually and collectively as well. Romance, fantasy, dreams, idealism, arts, a poetry, song, altered state of consciousness, even escapism, and especially the positive sides, how much we love it. They carry us into an endless wake dream. However, when she does enter this part of the sky, we might not feel the dream immediately because of the reasons I said earlier. Venus is semi-sextile with Pluto. That is uncomfortable because Venus wants to be her dreamy self, but Pluto immediately, freshly entered, Pluto himself freshly entered Aquarius. It really, really emphasizes the future, the modern, and the good and the bad as well. So there is that very, very strong intellectual, realistic, hyper realistic, almost sci fi kind of energy that is present, that we are living it, we are feeling it, it is influencing us. So you can imagine how these two energies are not very good bedfellows together, especially with the semi-sextile. How do they coexist in harmony? Well, chances are, even if we find a way for this not to, you know, disturb us, it's still there's a certain kind of discomfort here. So you see how the hyper realism, the hyper intellectual sphere of Aquarius will be in a certain kind of contradiction with the dreamy, the ethereal, the surreal nature of Pisces. Now, we must also mention the fact that there is a certain kind of similarity as well between these two energies. One of the thing is that how much reality in a in an earthly way, in an earth sign way, do they contain? Because Aquarius may be reality oriented, but it is just the thought of the upcoming reality that we are creating, our hopes and dreams. And there is a strong idealistic nature in Aquarius as well. Pisces, as I said, the dreaminess, everything is first just an emotion, just a feeling, an elated, almost divine feeling, but it lacks the down to earth reality. And Pisces is also a very principalistic and idealistic sign, but in its own way, in its own unique methodology. So, even the similarities are not really something that ultimately give comfort, because the similarities are very different in frequency and vibration in their nature, so they're still not all that very good bedfellows. And this is why all of this week we're going to be feeling this up and down, this low and high at the same time. It is like the psychological and emotional roller coaster. The other aspect of this week is where uh, Aries is starting to be emphasized in a much greater way than it was, because Mercury is entering or already entered this part of the sky. So the mind is there, communication is heated. Everything, that is mercurial has a strong energy of initiation, of let's do it, let's get into it, let's muster the energy, the strength, the courage, whatever it takes to initiate. And Mercury, speech, thought process, the way we directly interpret reality. Aries is very much heated by a still ongoing Chiron and North Node conjunction, or just the north node in this part of the sky is more than enough. And then, of course, there is planetoid Aries, who really brings, or better said, who keeps the heat going. She is almost like uh, when they had the steam trains, the guy who shoved the coal to keep the fire burning. She is doing that on overtime, and we see this without a doubt play out on the world stage. The rebellious energy, the revolution, my truth, my will, my sovereignty, my rights, etc. All of that is very, very specific to Aries, not just Mars. And speaking about Mars, the ruler of this part of the sky, he is still in Aquarius. He is debilitated, but for things that have to do with the community, or things that have to do with the basically all of us, interhuman connections, it is very much there. You know what I mean? It is very much fiery, and it activates the rebellious, the justiciary, justice seeking nature of Aquarius. It also activates, where um, people realize that strength is in numbers. So when Mars is in this part of the sky, usually they take collective action around this time. At the beginning of the week, Mars, really, really activates, energizes, it stirs up, it feeds fuel to Uranus, because they still hold a square. And all throughout the week, this square is going to wane, it is going to lose intensity and die out. Yet it, one way or another, even towards the end of the week, even the beginning of the week, in a much more minor and like a background tone way, yet it's still there. So it is not going to be a very easy week, even if it has a lot of potential, a lot of work, a lot of action, a lot of communication. And speaking about communication, it is this part of the sky where much later on, but Mercury will go retrograde. It is not yet in its shadow path, so let's not worry about that yet. But this is where it will plant the seeds of, those communication or those verbal battles, contradictory ideas, opinions, initiations, Aries, which later on, when it goes retrograde, are going to be debated, analyzed, rethought, retaken for a conclusion. And also, speaking about Uranus, it is active. So we already experience, and this is going to continue all throughout next week, the financial instability, the up and down in our own values, even inner value systems, the collective unrest. I don't necessarily want to say malfunction. However, I can easily say that with the Mars and Uranus square, the malfunction, the haywire of technology, all the things that are going on the internet, the cyber warfare, the spying, the all of that, and of course, new technology showing itself in a very surprising and sometimes even uncomfortable way. So this part of the theme stays with us even this week very, very tightly. But there is also, especially at the beginning of the week, a really good energy to help us. And I'm speaking about the sextile between Mercury at the beginning of the week, 2 degrees of Aries, holding it with Pluto at the beginning of Aquarius. This energy is really persuasive. This energy can help us get support. Um, it can help us spread our message, communication. It is really good for social media to spread things to go viral, or for a community or a group of people to emphasize on some kind of communication, thought, or mercurial matter. However, this also has a downside, because this equally empowers those who want to manipulate, those who want to deceive, those who want to be in control. So, power games. So, we must be very, very careful with this, especially that this week the Sun meets Neptune in the sky. That usually is a very beautiful fantasy. Again, dream oriented. Who do I want to dream myself to be kind of energy? And also mystical, where the element of magic, mysticism, the power of the unconscious is very much alive. It also gives us an opportunity to gaze into our innermost self, or a connection with the soul, source. But the lower octave of this energy is lies, deception, and Pluto Mercury sextile is going to empower that the deception actually has some power. So we must be careful with scams. We must be careful with people who just want to, deceive us for whatever goal or whatever purpose. And last but not least, and I'm so sorry for this long introduction, the other side of the spectrum is that we are now officially in pre-eclipse season, and also very, very close to the Aries equinox. So the start of the astrological new year. In any configuration, in any year, an Aries equinox is almost like planting the seed, or the slingshot, where we finally really, after the aim, we release the projectile and it will find its mark. So every single Aries season is like almost like a mini quantum leap, but this one is going to be very, very powerful and very, very relevant, for the simple fact that the North Node is also there. And after the Aries equinox, a lot of other major celestial conversations are gonna take place within this cycle that the Aries equinox, the astrological new year, opens. So this is gonna be quite an interesting, as I said, cycle, an astrological new year. So this is a very karmic period due to the pre-eclipse, due to the Aries equinox, and due to the reverberation. But back in, let me explain this. Whenever a major astrological conversation takes place, and this is where I'm speaking about, for example, the Aries eclipse, 8th of April, or the upcoming conjunction of Jupiter and Uranus on the 20th of April, the any energy similar to these also reverberates, back in time. It happens on the 20th of April, let's say, but we also feel a part of certain arms of this energy which extend back in time in our present. So in March, we feel that as well, even though that celestial conversation has not yet taken place, and still it's preparing itself. We still feel the call of it, especially powerful ideas, principles, Uranus, truths. Our higher intelligence is activating within us, and Jupiter is starting to get now near to Uranus. So the conjunction is almost valid even before the 20th of April. So this energy is starting to, come online slowly and surely, and we feel the strong Uranian activation. So this is also going to be part of the week. So let me share my screen with you now and take you through the most relevant moments of next week. So at the beginning of the week, very, very, very freshly after the new moon that took place on the 10th of March. So, and that was a Pisces new moon, which held quite an exact sextile with Uranus. So that unleashes a certain kind of karma that fills our, let's say, inner world, our psyche, our unconscious, with those sparks of Uranus, sparks of genius, seeds of intentions, if you will, where for this, usually it's us planting the seeds of intention. Now it is, we plant, but we also receive seeds, if you know what, almost like Uranus, the wind, blowing certain seeds in our garden that will bloom, that will grow into something, a surprise factor, really. But on the 11th, you already see that the moon moved out of Pisces. So it also got past its conjunction with Neptune and conjunction with Mercury. So it is already in the sign of Aries, moon in Aries. We are feeling the readiness. We are feeling the activation. We are ready to embrace opportunities as they pop up, or we're also ready to face any challenge that might come in our way. We are trying to be, in the Piscean, the dream, the optimism, however we can muster. Even the fact that I am strong enough to live through this, if you're in hardship, that is already a valid expression of this energy. And we must not forget the long-term sextile, the grounding energy, which I spoke about in every single horoscope, that Jupiter and Saturn are providing us with. Well, we have to say goodbye to this energy because Jupiter is going to pick up speed now. So the sextile is Jupiter is going to break away from the sextile. So this is actually the last moment when we get this grounding reality based energy, strong moral backbone, strong, inspiration of spirit, but through our sense of justice, our wisdom, our value system, our basically our Jupiter in the sign of Taurus, our senses are magnetized and aligned with either the divine source or a high principle of ours. You know, our highest principles that we believe in are simply what in modern mysticism are the angels or archangels. You know, especially in evocational magic, there is the very strong mystical side, tradition, and stuff like that. Evocational magic, when you attempt to summon a celestial or whatever astral being onto the earthly plane. Now, what you summon is also something from deep within you, where when you align to a high principle and you believe in it and you feed it with your power constantly, well, that is just an angel or the symbolism of the angel alive deep within you. So you can imagine how the angel is actually an integral part of your unconscious that turned benevolent and given sufficient power. Of course, it guides you, guards you, whatever it is that you need of it. So this is the last that we get from this guardian angel energy, the sextile between Jupiter and Saturn. So let us use it very, very wisely. Let us truly believe in our hopes, in our salvation, of course, in a certain, not in an infinitely boundless way, because we will not be able to. Mars square Uranus, uh, Venus is semi sextile to Pluto. We cannot believe it, you know, in an totally we unlimited way where we truly give ourselves to the realm of belief, because these semi-sextiles, and we also have a very tough semi-square that I'm going to be speaking about in a second. These are going to keep us in discomfort. Like, for example, all the magic and dreaminess of Pisces coexisting with the harsh reality that is going on in the Middle East. The horror, the this is where it blows your mind. And also the Pisces part of that energy. History plays out once again, and it is just as gruesome, just as horrifying, just as sad as it always was. The timeless nature of Pisces. This is where the fact that we're in 2024, hyper age, technology, everyone is super spiritual, that makes zero difference when it comes to the horrors that play out. Hence the timeless nature of Pisces. The the dual nature of Pisces. I always say, Pisces, yes, it is the divine, the Holy Ghost, the Holy Spirit. It is also the opposite, the spirit of hatred, the spirit of hopelessness, desperation, except sorrow. It doesn't matter that we're in 2024 and we have all these tools and knowledge and whatever to push it back. It still plays out in a timeless way. And this is just a very powerful mirror image of the true alchemical nature of the signs, and the fact that many times, even if we and our not we our ancestors, of course, through the divine, have perfected all these coping tools and skills and knowledge and everything that we need the light to compensate for this, when the astrological clock ticks in a timeless way, nothing helps. It plays out the way it has to. And why? because we are that collectively, we're that ignorant. We do need the intensity of this pain in order to awaken us to the truth that the divine is telling us right now. And what those truths are, well, it is all of our duties individually to figure out what they mean for us personally. This is where no one can tell you the truth, what the truth is, because this period is very, very important in the sense that that's our biggest mission right now. That's our most important job, to figure things out, what these times, what the world, what life, what the spirit, what where things are evolving towards mean for us personally, because that north node in the sign of Aries, and the north node is at 15 degree, which means exactly the middle of the sign. So this is when things get real. This is when the astrological energy, the north node, north and south, the nodal axis, is really heading towards that Aries decan of Aries. So the new beginnings, the big, big, big moments, and those must be aligned with truth, one's inner truth, whatever that may be. It is very, very important. And this week is an important step in this because the moon on the 11th, conjuncting all these players, Mercury, North Node, Chiron, and then later on Aries. And there are other astrological energies in Aries as well. For example, Salasha is there. Um, dwarf planet Salasha, and there are asteroids there. I I have a small moment of lapses, so I couldn't actually recall all of them, but there is more than meets the eye, and you know what I mean, in the sign of Aries. Yet these are the most important ones: Mercury, the moon, the North Node, Chiron, and Aries. And the moon conjuncts all of this. So all of these will, one way or another, come online for us emotionally, both individually and collectively. And collectively, spirits are gonna spark. Um, then we also have the reminiscence of the Sun and Uranus sextile, and this is the spark of hope, this is the optimism, this is the dream, and this is where we are also aligned, but with a very earthly truth, a certain kind of reality check, which really helps us because the sun is the light of our consciousness, especially within the realm of the unconscious. So this is a rare moment that we have, of course, every year in Pisces season, when the unconscious can be pierced. And sextile Uranus, the practical truths in our lives, our situations, that with hope, with optimism, with creativity, can be one way or another stirred into a right direction. So this type of sextile is where, regardless of how your life is, and it's usually the setup of your life, you can still figure something out or find a way to make things work for you, or to get the best version of whatever you're living, the right frequency, if you will. And then we see Venus being anoretic in the sign of Aquarius. So again, a very powerful financial energy. We are feeling the uncertainty, the instability of the financial world. However, that doesn't need to be a pessimistic energy, because very many times instability and uncertainty bring a quantum birth of something new that might overshadow the instability. So this energy is both good and bad. And then a day later, or depending on where you are on the planet, either on the 11th or the 12th, Venus is now in 0 degrees of Pisces. The semi-sextile with Pluto is online. So Venus wants to be romantic and dreamy and principalistic and magical, but Pluto kind of keeps her in reality as well, in this quantum reality. Like, let me give you an example. That which is very easy to understand. You're in this romantic mood, and this is also magical mood, but you are trapped in a block of flats. All you can do is look at pictures on the internet of forest, of magic, of river, of seaside, or whatever, because your situation doesn't allow you to actually live those in this present moment. Either because you have a busy schedule, busy at work, or you don't have anyone to be romantic with. So you see, Venus's romance is there, the desire, but Pluto in Aquarius keeps us busy in another area of our lives, let's say. So there is this, and then there is Venus's semi-square with the North Node. Now, why is this uncomfortable? Because again, Venus, the dream, the romance, etc. But the North Node in Aries, the situation is heavy, the situation is burning. I need to be working right now, while I need to strike the iron while it's hot. Everything is for the future, not really the romance of the present, the magic of the present. Or there is, if there is magic in the present, unfortunately, we cannot, lounge in it, stay in it, breathe it in. We have to immediately use it for something practical. The North Node in Aries. So not a very, and also the sensation that Venus in the sign of Pisces, are we really moving forward? Or is this just a feeling because nothing is happening? Or if it's happening, it's baby steps or trail of breadcrumbs and stuff like that. But this is just a feeling. What there is almost like a strong promise in the sky that we're actually moving forward in a real sense, and that is Saturn is covering new ground in Pisces, and Jupiter is picking up great speed very soon, covering new ground in the sign of Taurus, and needless to say, it is preparing its meeting with Uranus. So as soon as there is like a conjunction between the two, some astrologers may very easily call the present a conjunction. I would only call it a conjunction when Jupiter starts going to 15, 16 degrees of Taurus, but that's when things get quantum, things get Uranian. So we might not even need like a linear progress, because, like in Star Trek, the warp, in an instant you're there. So if certain big things, but very big things and important things, either karmically or let's say professionally or value wise, your financial situation, but not in a simple way, how much money do I have? What am I doing with my money? Plans for the future, investment, getting things that you need and want or where you want to be. And things haven't really moved all that much forward for a year or two. This might be the chance. And the reason why, because you didn't need that, the quantum leap. In an instant, you're getting there without a linear progress. But even if there wasn't a massive linear progress, in spirit, in idea, in your inner intelligence, there was a very powerful progress, because your dream, your hope, whatever you need, distilled itself alchemically. Pisces energy, the acid, when there is a chunk of gold but full of dirt and impurities, well, you put it into sulfuric or hydrochloric. Sorry, my microphone did its thing again. I don't know why. Every single recording, it does fall down. So in this session, it had its moment. But when you put gold with impurities into acid, it dissolves, and it only the shiny gold will remain. This is how the past couple of years and Neptune in Pisces and freshly Saturn in Pisces, this is how they distilled our aspirations, our principles, what we believe in any way, shape, and form, our dreams, and you know, they removed the self-centeredness. They removed the ego from the dream. That's when it is aligned to the divine that much strongly. When the dream does not have the ego in it, it only has, let's say, the spark of spirit. So, long story short, this energy can prepare for the quantum leap. Even if things haven't progressed in your life as much as they needed, this conjunction between Jupiter and uh, Uranus can get us there. Usually, this conjunction is very positive, although it, without a doubt, it will have other sides to it as well, which cannot really be polarized, like natural calamities, earthquake, earth movements, mountains coming out from the sea, new mountains being formed, anything like that. Or technology, what happens with technology? That is neither positive or negative, that is just is. You know what I mean? But psychologically, or what is going on in our lives, this conjunction should be quite positive because Jupiter is the hope, the belief, uh, the ideal, the wisdom in one's even soul, God's genes, Taurus. So, and I imagine that besides all the classical things, this conjunction is also gonna create, on one hand, new musical tools and instruments, revolution, like the ones we never envisaged before, and maybe not all that much technological, of course, that's there, but some maybe not all that much hyper technological, beautiful new songs and new ways that the voice and sound, especially the sound, living sound that living beings produce, has an effect on everything. So that's the, but we will see that play out later on. And there is something that the asteroids do as well, especially at the beginning of the week. You see here series, planetoid series. So Ceres is again the goddess of grain, the goddess of nurture, where she feeds nature, she feeds us. She is, Demetra basically. She who held the seasons together before the, I wanted to say abduction, but not every legend says that it's an abduction. So Persephone's journey into the other, even before that, there was like an eternal nurture, eternal spring and summer. But she was responsible for holding that. So the nurture basically. And Ceres in the present day context is very clear that it is the famine. Why? Ceres' conjunction with Pholus and Quaoar. These are big quantum planets. Of course, usually these are positive, but they're also conjunct Ixion, lawlessness, and Ixion, and all of this is in Capricorn, so centralized power. Famine is a tool. This conjunction can also represent that for some people. However, the good news now, they're still trining Jupiter, which is very beautiful, and they also trine Juno, so a grand Earth trine. there can be a solution to famine. There can be a solution to any series deficit. On one hand, one of the solution is something para-governmental, ixion. It favors that which is not coming from the government. But at the same time, it can also represent something that is like an alternative within centralized power. But I do believe that help is there, or help is coming. Jupiter, law and justice. Ixion and Jupiter, Ixion and Zeus were, I want to say in a way, rivals, because Ixion really upset Jupiter, and it was Jupiter, Zeus, who cast him out in the infinite abyss. And also it is Ixion who is the father of centaurs, especially the worst kind of centaurs. But anyway, a grand trine. This may be good news for the famine. So let us move on. Oh, and still the moon, on the 12th is going to conjunct all of the Aries planets, so we are going to feel that emotional intensity. We're really going to be feeling that in the air. And also Mercury holds a semi-square with Uranus. You know what I mean? So communication is not gonna be all that easy. It might be conflictual. It might be, this is also a financial energy. The budget is not enough. Something is much more expensive than it is. You had a business or a deal or any kind of contractual agreement. There is a change of circumstances, change of mind. So it's delicate, let's say, and chaotic. But it's not a massive influence. So, and also, this energy is angry words. So we must really mind our tempers and not say things. You know, Uranus is our truth, Taurus the voice. Speaking out the truth in an uncontrolled way, Mercury in Aries favors that, actually, might lead to wounds and wounding. Because later on in the week, Mercury will conjunct Chiron, wound and wounding, and the North Node. So we must really try our hardest to keep our temper under control. It is not going to be easy, of course, especially on the 12th or 13th when the moon is conjunct Aries. Very powerful rebellious energy. This will also cause sparks of violence and stuff like that. But we must try our hardest to be in control of our mental faculties. And then later on, the moon enters into the sign of Taurus, a part of the sky where it is exalted and loves to be. And then it will conjunct Jupiter and Uranus. Well, we have this every single month, so we are used to this energy. It can be a reality check for us, how we feel about a certain situation. But Jupiter, what is truth? Or a cry out, our soul cry out for justice, for truth. But on the positive side, magic. On the positive, something inspires us. Something makes us feel delightful. That's the positive side. Now, going to the 14th, we have the moon conjunct Uranus, a very strong activation of our feelings, either in a positive way, like a surprise, like a delight, or something stresses us out, but we need to address the problem, the situation, especially that the square with Mars is still ongoing. So stress factors might come from our circle of friends, from our acquaintances, from the internet, or from where this 23 degrees of Aquarius falls into our personal chart. And if you don't know these things, I have a tutorial video that you can check out that will help you put any a horoscope that I do into context for you personally in your life. It will attempt to show you how to read your own chart, basically. And Venus is conjunct a fixed star named Fomalhaut, the star of Saint Archangel Gabriel. So this can be quite a mystical energy where ancient wisdom or alchemy or some kind of magic delights us and gives us hope or puts us into a kind of romance, a romantic state of being. Um, and then I would simply like to just jump to the very end of the week, to the 17th, when we have the Neptune Sun conjunction. Now, as I said at the beginning, this energy is both good and bad. This is the dream, this is connection to source. This is a beautiful energy for any artist, any spiritualist, for healing, for psychology. But when I say healing, this energy reveals where our wounding truly is. But it's not about the wound itself. This is about our how we react to the wound, what we did with the wound. This is also very karmic energy where there can be karmic communication. People from the past might pop up in our lives, but not in a Mercury retrograde kind of way, or let's say a Venus retrograde kind of way, but in a synchronistic way where the spirit just guides us. And dreams are going to be vivid, prophetic, very, very active. Our emotions are going to be very, very strong, but in a misty Piscean way. We might be drowned by the dream, by emotion. Of course, this also has a negative side, self victimization, pessimism, melancholy, depression, because Neptune can drown. But this is exactly why before this sorry, not moon, a Sun Neptune conjunction took place a few days back, or even a few weeks back, the Sun conjuncted Saturn. And that was basically the energy which prepared us, the reality check, the realism of it all, our own truth, and what we need to endure for, fight for, heal for. Saturn and Pisces, the Sun Saturn conjunction gave us the power to do that, gave us the faith or where to seek strength and faith and endurance, or it dissolved our illusions. It gave us a reality check where our self victimization wants to weigh us down. Now we must take the wisdom of that, of the past week or past days, and use it with this Sun and Neptune conjunction to make it as positive. But when I say it's not the toxic positivity where you must be positive. This is where you have the wisdom and you understand the true need why you need to focus on the best possible version of things. Give the spirit a loving charge. Love is very, very much needed here. Because if love is there, and this isn't the superficial kind of selfish love, or love which comes from deep within our satisfied senses. This is the Christ, or let's even let's not use such fancy terms. This type of love can be explained in a very easy to understand way. Pisces is the divine source, especially with Neptune in it, right? Pisces is also empathy. The sun is the self, right? The self that we generate. Sun conjunct Neptune. Let's say that for a moment, for a short period, within our empathy, within our emotional understanding, we put ourselves in the shoes of the creator, not in a silly way, in a symbolic, in a philosophical way. We play the game of what would we do? What would we feel if we were the creator? It would immediately put us into parent mode. Pisces, the ancients, or the elders who are wise, who are fathers and mothers to all, matriarch, patriarch energy, the infinite love, where everything is just a child to you. So can you discriminate? You can't. You can only treat it with love. This is the type of love that I'm speaking about. The deepest kind of parental love. This is where, for a parent, there is no sexual charge, there is no obsessive desires, there is only unconditional love as a parent. That is the type of love that can do miracles and can actually open the portal for miracles and dream miracles into existence under this Pisces, under this, yes, Pisces, but Neptune and Sun conjunction. The bad way to use this energy, the fears, fearing the divine, mistrusting fate, mistrusting our destiny, fearing it. That is the bad way to alchemize it, without a doubt. And it is not just this. Let me put this forward a few hours so you can see. Or sorry, a few hours back. This will do. So we see here that this Sun, Neptune conjunction, is squared by the Moon in the sign of Gemini. On one hand, the mind will be a powerful tool for this, because it is the mind that gives a kind of shape and form to our principles, to our ideals, to whatever we fear or whatever we hope for. And at the same time, this is where there is also mental element here, both in a hopeful, positive, faithful way, but or in a doomy and gloomy way. Everything that is in Pisces is also within self-victimization, pessimism, etc. Self-defeating thoughts are also in the mind. So this is where we need to get, and also hope and dream is equally in the mind. But you can see the square. That type of unconditional Christ-like love where you're a parent, you're a carer, you're like a guardian angel within heart to all existence, all creation. That cannot be understood by the mind, because the mind is built for survival and for, in a certain way, selfishness. I'm not criticized. This is it is meant to be like that. But when these two are in square, the mind needs to accept the superiority of the spirit. Even things that will not make sense in a survival or selfish way needs to be basically emphasized on with mental energy. Hence, mystics, hence the saints, basically, especially in Judeo-Christian mythology. The saints did a lot of irrational, sorry, the microphone thing. The saints did a lot of irrational things in a survival way, where they martyred themselves or whatever. But all their gestures like that turned into miracles. So, you know what I mean? Or Saint Francis. Saint Francis, in this capitalistic modern day society, especially in Western Europe and the United States or Canada or whatever very powerful democratic country, would be seen as an insane, a lunatic. You know what I mean? But anyway, there is no but to this. So Mercury is also conjunct, not to the degree, but still very tightly conjunct the North Node in the sign of Aries, which means also Chiron. Here we have this conjunction. So Mercury will be at 13 degrees. So it's beginning the conjunction with the North Node. We really need to figure things out. This is when we have the initiative, we have the courage, we have the plan, we have the inner drive. Mercury giving it the shape and form, the aim, where are when a sharpshooter has to make its own inner, I don't even know how to word this, methodology or modus operandi, how to not just aim, but also to hit the target as intended. And this is also why we get a Mercury retrograde period in Aries, to truly figure it out. Because that plan, the blueprint, the schematics, the inner schematic, the inner plan, the inner GPS of where we're going to be aiming our shot at, that needs to be safe and sound and maximally good. So you can imagine why Mercury retrograde in Aries, as hard as it will be a blessing. Because this is also when we make amends for our bad type of communication, for our angry words, for people who were wounded with our words, with our communication, with our initiation, with our mental projections, with our whatever mental energy. So that is also a period when we make amends, when we put things right, especially relate by relationship. When Mercury conjuncts the North Node, it opposes South Node. So relationships in Libra, we make amends and we truly figure stuff out. This will be a good Mercury retrograde for divorces, especially if the divorces started already, for divorces, for separations, for reforming alliances, reforming companies, reforming HR, anything like that. So, yes, so this week, long story short, in a nutshell, is going to feel like a massive preparation for the eclipses, because just on the 24th of March, we have a partial lunar eclipse in the sign of Libra. Relationships, divorce, or something permanently changes within certain kind of relationships or contracts or one-on-one alliance or marriages or whatever. And after that karmic ending lunar eclipse, there is on the 8th of April the total solar. I think I spoken way too much. That is why my microphone keeps falling off. So those eclipses are really gonna transform our lives. No way going back to what was before or even what is in the present moment. So thank you everyone for all the love, all the support, all the beautiful comments. I really hope that you enjoyed this, and please keep in mind that things might be a bit tough emotionally, especially at the very end of the week, next Sunday, because of the Neptune Sun conjunction. So if you are feeling down, if you are suffering from depression, from loneliness, from really heavy feelings, if you have this impression that your destiny or fate or whatever wants to defeat you, you are not alone. Reach out. There is help out there, because the same conjunction that can amplify these very dark feelings also amplifies compassion, humanitarianism, and people who want to help. So there is always help out there. Thank you, everyone. Until next time, bye for now.